Vibes back once again.
We back in the building.
Big Chris.
We have another dope episode. Saving the Goat.
Yeah, I mean, as promised, we said that last time around. You said, "Hey, I got a special podcast episode for us, man. This is going to be probably one of the best ones we give."
And we deliver every time. Through any obstacle, we're going to deliver.
Amen. Amen to that, brother. You know, whatever happens, keep on going. So this gentleman here, I heard about him through Chris. Chris sent me a link to the podcast called Second Chance. Second Chance. That was a great interview, and I think we're like very fortunate to have the brother here you're from Virginia Beach.
Yes, sir.
From Virginia Beach to actually give us a first-hand direct interview, because Buddy was in Second Chance, he's from UK.
Yes, he is.
So he wasn't here, you know, that was over Anchor, I'm guessing over the phone. But we got the chance to get you right here. So we're honored.
We're honored. We have a special guest, ladies and gentlemen. At 19 years old, this man was wrongfully sentenced to 107 years in prison for a brutal rape and beating of a 10-year-old girl in Virginia Beach, Virginia. But after serving 27 years in prison, we have the great Darnell Phillips. He was freed on parole, and even to this day, after DNA evidence proving his innocence, he is still fighting to get his conviction overturned. We have Mr. and Mrs. Phillips here today. We're honored to have you, Ms. Phillips. Thank you for coming by. He also just had a birthday, so happy belated as well.
Thank you.
50 years old. How you feeling today, Mr. Phillips?
I'm feeling well, man. I'm really feeling well.
I love it.
Glad to be here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You looking good, man. Look, got a little swag on you today. I realize it, man.
You got it every day, man.
Ooh, he quick.
And I spent 27 years, man, in blues, you know.
Okay. Yes,
They're
sir.
blues with elastic around the waist, man.
Yeah.
The prison guard, but you know, like I say, every day, man, you have to your best. You know, put your best on. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Well, Mr. Phillips, the floor is yours, man. First of all, we want to hear your story. I know you may have said it so many times already to so many people, but give Virginia Beach right here. Give us your story, man.
Well, at the age of 18 years old, in the process of going about, I guess you could say, self-actualize as a young man, you know, trying to find my significance, my footprint in the world. I was about to connect with the rap group Public Enemy, right? Because there was a contest going on. They called it back then in like the late 80s, early 90s, Black of the Berry, Sweet of the Juice. Yeah. And so, you know, you young guy, you know, you think you're on top of the world. So me personally, before Puff Daddy was trying to be Puff Daddy, I was trying to bring this group together, galvanize all the talents in the area.
What year was this?
This was in 1990.
Oh, wow.
1990, August 1990, man. So it's galvanizing the talents together. You know, I'm looking at these guys, one from New York, one from DC. And so diverse backgrounds, trying to bring them together. I had a DJ, young man named Markel. So, you know, we were just trying to put this demo together. I just knew this thing was going to sell. And so the day before this incident occurred that I was accused of and spent 27 years of my life in, you know, we got together, but it seems like we couldn't get the music right. And so the next day, I came back to my friend's house, but my buddy David from DC, he had to leave. He left me there. And so I needed to ride back home. And I was like, man, he left me. My buddy's like, well, look, you know, named Michael Norfleet, rest in peace. He said, I'm going to make sure, you know, you get home. Of course, his brother didn't come, so I had to find a ride back home. So I had to use somebody's bike. Did that, came back the next day. That very day to which the incident did happen, I was in a house. I was in a house with Michael. He was taking care of his mother. She had brain cancer. It was raining outside, and so we weren't waiting because the place that we were, a little studio at my friend's, was his garage. It was maybe like a half a mile up the road. And so we had to wait till the rain died down. And so we waited for the rain to die down. And when we did, we left out of the house. When we left out of the house, Michael and I were smoking cigars, talking about, okay, what's kind of lines you're gonna use? What's your hook? And so there was a man who walked up. We didn't think much about it. He asked for a light. My friend Michael, he gave him a light. So we went around the corner, and he slipped in the mud. So we laughed and everything, and we weren't thinking nothing about it. We just, being happy-go-lucky. But he went in the house, dressed, and came back. When we got around again, a police officer rolled up on us. And the police officer, he said, he said, did you see anybody go past here? And we were like, well, no, what's going on, officer? We was like, what's going on? He said, well, look, a young girl just got raped. I said, whoa. And so we just saw somebody walk by us. We said it was an older gentleman. So we gave a little description of the guy. And so we walked up, the road. Then we were kind of sullen about that thing, right? Because I'm like, man, young girl got raped. Who would do that? And so the officer said, could y'all stay in the vicinity? And when he came back, we just saying like, well, we didn't see much, but we just saw the guy. We told him whatever. And after that, I didn't realize they had my friend in the back seat of the car. Now, the guy they were looking for was kind of tall. Of course, at the time I was tall, but Michael was kind of short. He had the clothing like that because the person had on white. We didn't know that the person they were looking for had on white and green football jersey. I had on all brown and black paisley at the time, and black Nikes and everything, right? And I had a black Chicago Bulls hat. That was something real popular everybody had at the time in the area. And so they questioned us, then they brought us back to Mike's house, because Michael was 16, I was 18, right? I met Michael at the gym as we were training for boxing. And so they asked, could we, put the hat on, take a picture. They cleared Michael's family's wall off, took some pictures, and I'm like, well, okay, no problem, no issue. I mean, our conscience is totally clear. We ain't doing anything, we're just trying to make music.
And they took pictures of Michael in the house.
Yes, sir, they took pictures of Michael and they took pictures of me. But 2 days later, right, I had a friend coming from Howard University, right? He was coming down, so we were about to go to the beach. I didn't realize that night would be one of the last nights that my life would never be the same again.
What date is that?
That was August the 12th. August the 12th. The incident happened August the 10th, and August the 12th, they came over to my Twincanare area and they arrested me, and they took me to the police station. I didn't know why, because I'm like, well, why they got me at the police station? They didn't tell me anything. Then they came in there, they started.
When they came and got you,
Yes,
cut you off, they didn't.
No.
They didn't say, "Hey, we got to take you downtown for questioning," or they just grabbed you and.
No, they asked us, you say you got to come with us, but they told me to put my hands out of the window, the car window. They asked, was I in the car? Darnell Phillips in the car. I said, yeah, this is me. And I stuck my hands out the window like they asked, and they took me to the police car. And so, they put me in the police car, but they never really shut the door. You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, what's going on? So what I did was, even though the cuffs were behind me, I got out the police car and I was walking out. You know what I mean? Because I didn't see any danger in that. I'm 18 years old. And they said, hey, how'd you get out? I said, the man didn't shut the door. What are y'all doing? And he's like, well, they took me into the back and then they took me downtown, in Virginia Beach or whatever, right? Yeah. And they interrogated me for like 5 hours, man. And they were saying, Michael's in the next room saying you did it. I said, I did what? I said, what are you talking about? They said, you raped that young girl. I said, what? Rape a young girl? What? I said, come on, man. I said, I got a fiance, man. I said, look, I got a fiance. I said, I'm not into anything like that. And so they just didn't want to hear that. But after 5 hours, I talked to him, and then there's another detective that came in there. That detective, of course, he came and he did the big good guy, bad guy thing. And as we got to talking, I got upset because they took me to the magistrate's office. By me never having a record, I didn't know what the green papers or whatever meant, the felonies. I didn't know what they meant. All I knew was that when I saw the papers, I asked, I said, what does this mean? And he was saying, that means you're going to be in prison the rest of your life. And that right there, that kind of shook me. You know what I mean? Because I had never been incarcerated. Never didn't know anything about the judicial system or anything, right? And so after that, he was like, look, man, if you tell me you did it, then, I help you. I'm like,
this is your investigator this time.
This investigator,
Okay.
This investigator telling me that, and I'm like, I can't tell you that. I didn't do that. And so I put my head down because for real, that hit my heart. Because he told me I was never going home. Now you imagine an 18 years old person telling you you're never going home. And this is a law figure, you know what I mean? Yeah. He was imposing, I'm 18, he's older. So I'm like, wow, I'm never going home. I didn't know, he told me that's what the papers meant. I didn't understand that. I ain't think about trial or nothing. They just man tell me I'm never going. And so, I put my head down and that bothered me. You know what I mean? Shed some tears about that. It hurt my heart.
It's weird. I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No, you're all right.
You had the typical clothing on that most young black males wear.
Chicago had
Chicago had was jeans and they said the description was a jersey on. You didn't have a
Right,
jersey.
white and green, no.
So it's just amazing that they'll pull out just you and think that you're the suspect in the case without even having any thoughts behind it. They just gave you some questions and say your boy's over here saying you're the one that's doing it. You're the one that did that rape. So, but it just baffles me.
He had a solid tight alibi, and somehow
Right.
he still is even being questioned. You're still even being brought in. What's up with that? I mean, America 101, but still, like, what's up with that? That's just a worse nightmare for somebody of color in this country, definitely.
So was your communication with your friend, were you able to talk back and forth?
No, actually, he wasn't there.
No.
He wasn't there. I found out after I got out on bond. I got out on bond 5 months after, right? That night, because they took me down to that dirty, dingy cell the next morning. They had kept me up all night long. And like 5 months after, when I finally got bond, he found out or whatever it is, because he kept trying to let the prosecutors and detectives know. He was trying to do research as a young man. He said, "Y'all got the wrong dude. He was with me.
Back
His mother,
then, he was trying
he was doing that. He was doing all the other guys. I found out not long ago that they were writing letters trying to let them know y'all got the wrong dude. You know, these guys were really trying, but the police didn't hear it. And so when I got out 5 months later, he was like, I said, man, they kept saying you in another. He said, man, you know better than that. He said, man, they were just trying to get you. And he's from, like I say, he's from New York.
Yeah.
And so he did a little time before as a young man juvenile. So he was used to the system a little bit, right? He said, nah, they were trying to get you to just admit to something. You know, I'm like, God, man.
How much was your bond?
My bond was just $50,000 at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, $50,000 at that time, man.
And you spent 5 months in jail, and
5
after
months.
bond, we're going to trial. What's your thoughts going into trial? I know you're like, I'm gonna beat it. I'm innocent. They got the wrong guy.
That's what I thought. I thought that the whole time, but at the same time, I realized after 5 months being in jail, that kind of wearing on me, because while I was waiting, I didn't really, I'm gonna be honest with you, right? While I was waiting, I didn't even have any type of roots of faith. My family being in church and all them things, I didn't have any roots of faith. Only thing I had was what I wanted to do. As I told you, I was in the process of trying to mature and self-actualize, right, and find my significance. And so as I was, got out, let's say when I was in the jail, a lot of thoughts of suicide, because depression would try to come on me, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
Anything, and so, in my mind, I would be, of course, because of the situation. Now, I had a lot of homeboys, guys from our area, they were in jail, of course, because guys hustling back then. It's the 80s, 90s, early 90s or whatever, guys hustling, right? But that don't have anything to do with me. They're my friends, they're my peers.
Yeah.
And so they're like, look, do you want us to come over to that block? I'm like, nah, I'm all right. I said, don't worry about that, right? And so in that jail, man, I had got put under I guess private custody or whatever, because of the case. The case was so high profile.
Right.
And so I'd be back there, it was a couple of guys back there with me, right? And so, I'm like, I like getting the population, right? I mean, for real, so I be back there, man. I was thinking, man, I said, man, thoughts come to my mind, cut your wrist, man. The people already telling you not going home. Because when I had went to my first preliminary hearing, they said 3 lives and 30 years. When they say no bond, I thought, you never going home. What's going on? But I had to, that was hard on an 18-year-old psyche.
Definitely.
That was real hard on an 18-year-old psyche, because all my friends, they were in camp, they were on campus. They were going to military. They were trying to start a little business, That was my core circle group of friends. But here I am at that age, I was facing 3 lives, 30 years. So that jail, that was really hard. And so when I got out on bond after 5 months in jail, that affected me, because I could no longer see police officers as, they were. They may have been good people. But after that, it kind of darkened my sense, because it awoke a reality in my mind that something really can happen to you. This is a wicked world. Because I knew I was innocent. I knew my conscience was clean.
Yeah.
So why am I dealing with this? And so my friends would come around, and we say, look, man, let's go to Norfolk State, man. Let's go have like a reggae concert over there, right? And every time I see a police officer, I'll be like, nah, I ain't going. They're like, come on, man. Come on, dog, come on. I'm like, nah, I ain't going, bro. I said, I ain't messing around with that. They said, you worried about the police? They said, you never worried about the police before. I said, yeah. I said, you haven't been in the jail, bro. I said, man, I'm facing 3 lives. So everywhere I would go, if I go to the mall.
How long was that period of you bonding out and then your actual trial date?
8 months.
8 months.
8 months. So 8 months, I went through that in my mind. You know, every matter of fact, the female that I was going to, and be, married, right? That same thing. She was like, you need to get yourself together, right? I'm like, look, I know, you're talking about I want to marry and everything. I said, man, I'm facing 3 lives in 30 years.
What was your mom's reaction?
My mom was a strong woman of God, very strong. She was strong, rest in peace. She died in 2020. She was very, very strong, right? And she would always encourage me because she said there's something going to come out of this, son. I'm like, well, yeah, Mom, but I said, I'm facing 3 lives. You know what I mean? And so my mom, all she would do was pray for me. Because my mom was my mom was a fighter. She was an African. When we lived in Bayside Arms in Virginia Beach, my mom, she was a fighter. She like when something was going on with the rental office or whatever, right? And they were trying to overtax people and charge them too much. My mom, she would rally people together. That's how she was. She was a leader. And so she's like, look, son, she said, I know. She said, you stronger than that. She said, you got me and you got your dad. You stronger than that. And so I would stay built up for a minute, but yet I didn't have my personal foundation relationship with God. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I would depend on her. And my mom, this shook her because her mother had just died not long before that. So she was in her own personal crucible of trial. Because her mom was tight. Mom just died. When her mom died, I fell out of school because I loved her mom like she was my mom. So with my mom, she said, I thought the worstest thing would be when my mother died. She said, but when I heard that the police came to my house, I found out that, she said, when they came to the house, she said, where's my son? They were like, well, you're never going to see him again. So that made her heart drop. You can imagine telling the mother, especially a black mother in the early 90s, you're never going to see your son again. And I didn't realize, I said, who told you that? And I found out who it was, right? That same detective that lied on me, right? Wow. Yeah, I was like, wow. You know what I mean? It was it was just a real dark moment,
It was the energy in the courtroom when you found out the day of that they're saying that you're guilty. It was the energy there yet. Let's move before we get to that part. What was it like going to trial? What was the energy like in the courtroom? You had the victim that came in there, and how did she even get to the point saying that she's saying it's you? Where did the confession come from?
I can tell you that came from the detectives trying to lead me on and questioning. What color the underwear? What color? I said, I don't know. I don't know. But he's like, he's just trying to push it on. But as you know, you do the research in the case, there was no written, there was no recording, there was nothing like that. There's no signature, none of that because that's not what was happening. It's just the fact that they had a person too long, and they made everything fit. And so when I went into the courtroom, I can remember every detail. I went into the courtroom. It was like right before we were in the foyer. They said the victim was right by me. And a lady asked me, she said, that if you were the person that did that, that girl would have screamed out. That girl would have screamed out. What? And so my lawyer told me, go to the back of the courtroom. So all my friends, the guys, they were in summer school. Keep in mind, they were in summer school. So they got there kind of late. And they said, go to the back of the courtroom. And he said, just go back there, Darnell. When they did, the prosecutor brought the young girl down the aisle of the courtroom. And my lawyer said, oh. I said, what? He said, that's what it is. If I fast forward it, you will find out that they were trying to tell the victim not to change her story because she was young. Don't change your story. You know what I mean? Don't change your story, because the fact is, they like, well, they had lied to us, said that I had did that to other children, all that. I'm like, I found this out later on, but they had lied to her. They said he was a bad man. He had a bad record. And as you know, I was 18. How would I have a long prison record and things of that nature, right? So they lied to both of us. There were two victims there in that courtroom that day,
Did you have a public defender or a lawyer?
No, I had a lawyer, Robert Higgins, from the Robert Higgins and Hugo Madison firm in Norfolk. out of that building was the what is that? Not Sovereign Bank, Crestar Bank. At the time, it was Crestar Bank. Mm-hmm. You know, I know they don't have that up now, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. And just take us to, I guess, the day of when, you know, it kind of came down.
That day, man, I'm gonna tell you. By that time, I had gained faith, so I was doing a lot of praying. You know, because like I say, they're facing 3 life sentences. Yeah. You know, and you know, I'm just leaving out of the courtroom. I'm leaving out of the courtroom because I figured that day I'm gonna be vindicated. Because I did have some hope in me then. By that time, I had developed some hope in me, right? By that time, my whole plans had switched up. I wanted to get into ministry, right? You know, that was just something I had on my heart. And so I went across the street, and it was a 7-Eleven across there. And I came back, and while I was on the court stairs, there was a man talking to me on the steps. He was talking to me. And I'm like, who is this, right? I found out that it was the victim's father. I didn't know this. He was a military officer. I didn't know that. He was asking me about my team. And I was telling him. And then when I went to the courtroom, I looked to the right. I said, he's over there. You know, you understand what I'm saying to you? Wow, yeah. So he thought that meant, I know I would have been on your tail. You know what I'm saying? Because that's my daughter. Mm-hmm. So when I got in there, they put the victim, like I said, they put the victim on the stand. When they put it on the stand, you know, they asked, can you see the man who did it to you in the courtroom? Of course, I'm on one over there with lawyers. That guy, there he is. I'm like, oh, come on, man. Wow. And so after that, right, everything just went downhill. It seemed like everybody was blinded. You know how they say justice blind? It seemed like everybody was blinded in there because they were parading the brown and black shirt that I had on, right? They were parading that, right? That shirt in the courtroom when they were looking for white and green. I just couldn't understand it, you know? It didn't make sense, but when you look through the records, you'll see that's exactly what was being done. Then they said the person had a gold tooth. Found out later on that wasn't from the victim's mouth. That was from the detectives framing the case. They said the person had an earring in their ear. My ear had been closed for 3 years. A plastic surgeon proved that it couldn't have been open.
He proved it in court.
Yeah, they proved it in court, yeah. They proved it that 3 or 4 years prior to the case, my ear had been closed. Plastic surgeon, I went to a plastic surgeon because while I was in the jail, I did do a lot of legal research, right? Because, you know,
so I had 5 months.
Yeah, okay. I did. Because a lot of the older guys were kind of coaxing me, said, look, man, I know you got a lawyer, but you need to go ahead and look out for your own well-being.
What was the reaction when you first got to jail before the bomb? Like, I know you said you were in private.
What they call protective custody.
Protective custody. Yeah. Did you ever make it to like population?
Yeah, I did.
What was the reaction did you get from the guys? Did they believe your story or?
You have a few guys because the media can kind of alter your good common sense.
Right. This is everywhere. This is
right.
This is
everywhere. So this was all in New York and everywhere, right? Wow. One guy, one of my roommates, like, you know, my mom asked, "Did you met that guy?" He said, "That's my roommate, right?" And so a lot of people were like, some guys knew me off the street. So they knew me on the street. So they didn't believe that. They knew better than that. You know what I mean? They knew I used to talk to a lot of girls in Norfolk State. I had a girl, a young guy.
It don't
stuff.
Fit. Yeah.
Okay, so dude was like, nah, I don't believe that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so from that, I didn't get that flack like that. Okay. But you know, you might got one person who would say things, little slick stuff. I know the person's name to this day, right? Yeah. You know what I mean?
He was getting on you.
Yeah, he would say little slick stuff, but he never approached me because he also knew I used to box too, so he didn't bother me like that. Yeah. You know, I'm still exercising in jail and stuff like that.
I catch you, Jeff.
You know, and so it was a lot to it, but I never got in any type of altercations. You know, as a matter of fact, it was guys who would be like, if a guy say something, they wouldn't say it in my face. He was the only guy who would say little stuff privately. And so you had guys who address it. Because you got to keep in mind it's a different principle in time, right? In the early 90s, guys had a different mentality for what they do. You know what I'm saying? So you couldn't do that outside of my presence. You know, because guys really like me on the street, you know? Yeah. And so that's pretty much what was going on. So I ain't have any issue except for the case. You understand what I'm saying? Except for the case and adapt into that environment, right? Because you got to understand something. You 18, you don't have a lot of history. You don't have a lot of history. You know, you may have been out there and doing certain things, you know, like working, trying to get into your own little business, trying to find yourself, trying to get into a career.
I'm just thinking at 18, that's like the model age for men in period. You feel like an adult. You feel like a man at 18. You know, so I can't even imagine how you're mentally thinking at 18. I got the world basically against me.
Yeah, it broadened your mind because it look, it made me sober. It really made me sober because you got to keep in mind, I put this like this, right? In the 80s, it was real racist in Virginia Beach.
Oh yeah.
It's nothing.
Speak on it. Educate.
In the 80s, like let's take for instance, when we moved from Norfolk to Base of Outer Arms, right, or within the Williams Village area, or whatever. And so when we moved over there, we moved straight from there. My father, after he, I guess he got some type of raise, he moved us to a good area in Kempsville. So when we moved over to Kempsville, it's a multicultural area.
Okay.
And so, but you had a lot of white guys there who, drove at that time four-wheelers, 4x4s, whatever, and they would holler out at nighttime. If you're out there late at night, and you got hippies too. So they call you nigga or whatever, holler out, nigga, get out the road, or nigga, get your black, And so, we kind of grew up seeing stuff like that. Even my father, he would complain about, now keep in mind, at the time, he came through that civil rights movement, stuff like that, right? Yeah. So he saw it more than I did because he was out more than I did. So, I had people throw bottles. Like a person, I remember, I can recall back when a person threw a bottle of beer at my father, you know what I mean? It was open container, just throwing the bottle at him, right?
Just randomly.
Right. And so my father told me, he asked me something when I got on bond, he said, son, let me ask you a question. I said, what's that, Dad? He said, if that bank gets robbed over there, it was a sovereign bank, he said, who do you think they're going to pick up, you and I out here? I said, you and I. He said, so you kind of learning a lesson in life. He said, you kind of learning a lesson in life, man. You got to be aware. He said, you're a young black man. You have to be aware of yourself. You got to be aware how you handle yourself. He said, I know you're young. He said, I know you're young. You're going through a lot. He said, but you have to be aware. He said, you really have to be aware, man. There's a lot of things out here that you're not aware of. He said, you think you know things. He said, look what you're experiencing now. He was just telling me, he said, you're seeing things, the unfairness, you know what I mean? And I was like, man, though. He said, you're seeing the disparity in it. I'm like, wow. And so
it seems like your dad was setting you up and getting you ready for the world, right?
Yeah.
He asking you questions. So the environment that Virginia Beach was actually your case all in all was connected. The racism involved. If something happens, who should we blame?
Right.
Let's pick the young black males. And of course, prison right now we're over 90% black males, right? Maybe more. But it seems like your dad was preparing you for what's to come. Let's fast forward. You get sentenced to 107 years?
100 years. It was 100 years, and the 7 came because, I'm going to tell you, because a lot of people don't even know about the 7. This is the first time anyone's going to hear about this, right? I got 7 years because the rape case started looking kind of iffy, right? They were saying that we got to get him something else. My lawyer said they're going to come to you with a robbery charge. I said, a robbery charge? He said, yeah, they're going to come to you with a robbery charge. He said, they're going to come to you. And he said, they're going to come with the photo lineup. You're going to see this. And I saw a lot of dark-skinned, it was a lot of dark-skinned older dudes up there. I'm like, what the heck is this, right? You got me up there, head full of hair and stuff, young guy. I'm like, what the heck is this? My lawyer said, they're going to try to charge you, Darnell. I said, but I didn't do that. I had alibi to this too. Now, here's the thing. A lady supposed to have been robbed in front of a bank because they needed some credence because I didn't have a record that they could pull on.
That same day or before?
No. This was while I was in the jail. Okay. Before I went on bond. Right? Mm-hmm. Now, check this out. They said, look, they're going to come, and here's the thing. He said, more than likely, it's going to stick. I said, why? He said, Darnell, you have to understand something. They need to make you look bad. You don't have a record. You don't have a profile of a person that's going around raping people. But they have to make you. I said, but look, at the time, I was working with my uncle at QVC. My uncle had a contract with QVC. I was with my uncle up till 8 o'clock that evening. I was with him.
Mr.
Somebody
Phillips.
down, yes, sir.
Yeah, hold on, man. Hold on. We got to back up. You are telling me because you have a clean record, you're falsely accused of one crime, they know you're innocent. They know you look clean, so they're basically putting another crime on you.
Yeah. That's where the 7 years came in with that 100, because when I went to court on that, they brought a lady in there, right? And they had pictures of a guy. At that time, all my photos, right, on my license, everything, I had a lot of hair.
Yeah.
That's the time with 3 times dope steady B. So I just grew a lot of hair. You know, we had a hair froze, all that little stuff, right? You know, young guys, right? And so that person, they had a heavy set guy on camera. It was a heavy set, lighter skinned guy, a bald head. He like a hook earring or something. It was kind of dazed, but you can kind of tell. And then they said it was like 7 of them males like that. And so I'm like, well, how in the world they get me? He said, more than likely, Darnell's gonna stick. So I went to court on that. My uncle testified. And here's the thing. They had my mom come testify because they were saying the person had on jeans. I didn't dress like that, right? You know, even that day, you know, with the first crime, I don't dress like that. Because this is what I always wore. Either I wore nice track suits, you know, Nike, New Balance. I used to get the Christian Dior, you know, stuff like that, right? Because I was really into the rap culture. I was into it. Yes. I wasn't into the criminal portion that people, you know, put on it now, right? But I was into the actual consciousness of it, just the dress code and everything. Right, you know what I mean? Words, stuff, Sergio Tacchini, things of that nature. Yeah, I mean, because that's what guys used to do, you know. Because but you know, that's what we used to do. So that's how guys knew me on the street. They didn't know me as a guy desperately going out here trying to rape somebody or something like that. I wasn't into stuff like that, right? And so when they went to court, they said, well, the person had on jeans, t-shirt, and my mom she laughed a little bit. She said, my son, my best friend. That's what my mom said. She said, him? Jeans? My mama laughed, right? See, it was funny to me, right? My mom spoke her mind, right? See, I thought she was very strong in nature. Yeah. And she was like, not him. She said, not him. She said, you dead wrong on that one. And the judge said, every red-blooded young American man wears jeans. My mom said, not him. And so that's the time. I didn't start wearing jeans. I went to prison. I ain't wear that. You know, when I came out on bond, that's when I started wearing the fashion brand. Y'all probably won't remember that. You call used jeans. You know, they like what you wearing now. Same thing you got on now. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But it just came with like shirt, used jeans, shirt, stuff like that, right? You know, faded denim with the rips. Okay. Same thing. That's what they called them used. It was a used brand. You know, I started doing it.
Style and profile.
I mean, because that's what we were into. You know, the jewelry, the 2-finger ring. We were into stuff like that, right? And so to get back to it, the 7 years came because the lady said, well, that's the guy who robbed me. I'm like, oh, Lord. And so here's the thing. They didn't give me a heavy bond on it. They gave me a personal recognizance bond on that. And they gave me 7. When I got sentenced, they still allowed me to just go home. I'm like, what the heck is this? I was on bond. They gave this to me, right? I was going to court. I said, this is ridiculous, right? But even to this day, they really can't find the records of this stuff. That's what's going on, right? You can do all your research on it, and you won't find that. You won't find it.
You know, Mr. Phillips, sadly, not to cut you off, Dante. Sadly, you're convicted. You hear the sentence. Just take us back. What prison did you go to? What was your family reaction during this time? Like what could you hear in the courtroom? Stuff like that. Take us back to that kind of moment.
I'm gonna tell you something, man. I'm gonna tell you something spiritual. People say taking it to church. I'm gonna tell you like this, right? I'm gonna tell you what happened to me, man. I'm a person that firmly believes in destiny. I told you I always search for significance. Man, when I got before that judge, they read everything guilty. I heard my sister hollering out. God gonna get you. She hollering out because she lived in Maryland at the time. She was young and she's like, he gonna get you. He's gonna get y'all. Y'all knew better than that, right? And I looked and I saw my brother's friend run out the courtroom. Evidently, he went to tell my brother that, look, man, they just gave your brother 100 years, man. So he fled out of the courtroom, and my mom, everybody was crying, even on the victim side or whatever, right? People like, but I heard this. This is what I heard. I'm serious now. God honest truth. I heard everything the judge said when he said 100 years. He started to renounce 20 years, 30 years, 15, all them things like that. I heard, don't worry, you'll be okay. I started smiling because I felt peace. I felt like it was like the peace of God, right? And I told you, I was searching. I wasn't looking for, it found me. You catch what I'm saying to you? And so they took me to the back of the court. Like, you know, like they have a cell that awaits you as soon as you get like sentenced. They took me to the back. When they took me to the back, the man like, you all right, Phillips? They took the cuffs off me. Check this out, they took the cuffs off me. And I'm back there, fresh 100 years. They left from out of there, and the back door was open. Now, not to you. The back door was open, and the door, you know, like the bars, that joint was open.
You could have just.
But here's what this is what I'm saying. This is when I say, you know, it broadened my mind, it stretched my mind, really, and it spiritually it showed me something. When I heard in the courtroom, "Don't worry, you'll be okay," I interpreted that door that one day I'm going to walk out of here. Amen. And that other door, that it was light outside. You catch what I'm saying to you? It was light outside. It was 8 something, but it was light outside. And you know what I did? Based on that peace I felt, I pulled the door too, and they asked me, they said, Phillips, you all right? They came back there. I said, I'm cool. They said, you want to talk to a chaplain? I said, yeah. I said, yeah, let me get a Bible. That's what I said. They took me back there with a fresh 100 years. I said, let me get a Bible. I had just left the street, news, media, frenzy, and everything. And so what I did from that time on, man, I made a vow. I said, you know what? God, if you real, I believe that. I said, I honestly believe it because when I was on bond, a lot of things happened that I couldn't explain. You know what I'm saying? Because you 18, you only have a very limited history of life.
You going off basically what your parents,
right,
what they preach.
Right, but see, the thing is, I started experiencing things that let me know that there's something outside of me. You catch me? And so I said, you know what? That's what I started. I told you I had a desire to get into ministry. And so what I did, I said, you know what? If you real like this, if you are God, if you really are, I said, I'm gonna commit myself to you. I had 100 years. This is what makes a 19-year-old, because I remember that 8-month period and I became 19 years old, 19 and 6 months. What 19-year-olds say, you know what? I got 100 years, but if you are who you say you are, if you true, if this word of God is true, if this what it is, I said, I'm gonna dedicate myself, because guess what? I had nothing else to lose. What I had to lose? I had 100 years. And I believe and say, okay, if I'm gonna be okay, then I took that, man. I took it at face value like that. And you know, that's what it was.
So you're riding through the bus and you know, on your way to prison. I mean, at 19 years old, you know, I can barely, you know, think about many things, man, but what was the mental mindset? You can kill yourself, you know, you can go out, kill somebody else, try to get the time over with. Like, what is the mindset you're thinking at 19 years old? I'm about to do 107 years in prison.
I'm gonna tell you mine, man. I gotta be honest with you. I ain't never told nobody this. Gotta tell y'all this is something spiritual that really happened.
Please.
Might sound crazy to people, but I'm here now. I'm here now, out here in the free world, functioning with the right mind. I was on that bus. Normally the bus is full when you go into a prison, right? Mine wasn't. I had one person on that bus. That was me. No, you know, the driver, of course, the drivers. One person back there, just me. I felt the presence. Remember I told you I had a peace in the courtroom? I felt the presence of something with me. I lie to you, right? I felt the presence. I said, it gotta be an angel. Gotta be an angel. It gotta be something. You know, and sometimes I know people don't believe in it, but I'm just telling you what my experience was. I said, gotta be an angel. So when I got to that prison, you know, you go to receiving first, right? I started embarking on a journey. You know, because a lot of guys there would plug a time, man. Guys, 60, 70 years. One guy, he was like named, I remember his name named Bruce. They had supposed to kill the taxi cab driver in Pittsburgh or something. He 14, 50, 60 years. Another dude, 60 years. I mean, he got 16, 14-year-olds. And so it's like me and another dude from North Virginia. We the oldest on the wing, you know what I mean? I'm 19. And so the receiving center was very raggedy. And so, you know, I'm up there, they had a hole, like I can see the hole in light from the other, on the corner, right? I'm standing on the toilet and I'm talking about what I just read in the Bible to the guys. And dude's like, yo, man, you might be the next Martin Luther King. I'm like, I don't know about all that, right? But, you know, it was wild though, right? It's like I was discovering, like I told you, I was in the midst of discovering myself. And so I just started building guys up. And before, I'm gonna tell you, right after I got sentenced, let me go back a little bit. Before I got sentenced, I told my buddy Mike, I said, Mike, he said, look, Darnell, he was getting himself back together. He said, look, man, his dad was a pastor. He said, look, bro, he said, I did time before, as a young man. He said, look, bro, I'm gonna tell you like this. He said, go in there, he said, serve God, man, and try to disciple, man, try to win as many guys, try to learn that word, try to do that. He was just telling me things, because he did that brief juvenile thing.
Right.
And so I took what he said to heart, because I was in a real serious mode. I mean, I didn't have nothing to play about. I had actual 107 years. That right there that weight on your mind. But me, I had already made a commitment to it. I mean, I didn't have nothing to lose.
Speak on the early prison conditions that you experienced. I know you said in one interview you went 10 years without heat.
No heat.
Yeah, that was hard. That was hard. I got to Greenville in 1992 after I got from receiving. And so, when I got there, it was summer, it was hot. Didn't have a lot of cool air and AC stuff, everything was neutral. So guys, in prison, you come up with a lot of unconventional, real unconventional ways. So guys might get some ice, and they might get one of them little rotary fans, and they put an ice bucket in front of the fan or behind the fan, so it like blow cold air. And then when winter came, they had to do what they had to do, right? Yeah. So when winter came, that was a shock for me, because coming from out of a nice home and everything, I'm used to heat. You know what I'm saying? But there in the winter, it wasn't no heat. It was ice on the walls. I'm talking to my roommates, and frost coming out of my mouth. Anybody who's been to Greenville prison knows, like in the early night, that's how it was. Because it was the biggest prison in Virginia. I think on the East Coast at the time, right? It was actually one of the worst prisons, actually, right? Because there was a lot of real violence, And so for years I was there. I stayed there. All them years I didn't get any heat. Even when I transferred from there wasn't heat. There wasn't heat. The only heat we had, we would stick a spoon in the toilet, right? They had them real like metal toilets, and as you let the water run and get hot, and the steam would rise from the toilets. It really didn't heat us up, because sometimes, like I say, you'd be like, 3-4 set of clothes on. Anybody know daytime back then? I had like 3-4 set of clothes. I worked in the kitchen, so I might have jeans on. I might have thermal. I might have a wave cap. I had my hair at the time. Orange fitted cap. Anything orange toboggan or whatever, right? Laying in the bed, blankets. It was cold like that. And then
were you catching a cold? Were you getting sick during this time?
Nah, I actually wasn't. Because I realized, right, I had to carry my body through certain conditioning. To a certain conditioning, you want to go out, work out, you want to read if I want to read. And I knew I wanted, I told you, I made that to my college, right? And so I said, if I want to read, then I'm gonna be cold as a mug, but I'm gonna read. Yeah. If that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna be on a blanket. I'm gonna use that light, and I'm gonna see through the blanket. I'm gonna read. After a while, your body under certain extreme conditions, the body is a wonderfully made machine. And my body went through all them things, but nevertheless, I still persevered through that stuff. Food was all right when I went there, but then a couple of years later, it became like real garbage, soy and all that crap like that.
Did you have any physical altercation, any physical problems?
Nope.
Because that's what I want to know. You a big guy. Did you go in there? Were you always big? Or were you
when I went in, I was probably like I was 183, because I used to jog a lot. I used to run at 6 o'clock every morning. I would run, because my cousin, we were training. He was getting picked up by Lou Duval, so he was going to be a professional, boxer or whatever, right? And so I would train with him. We would go to the gym in Norfolk or Kempsfield Recreation Center. So I would still do my little drills and everything, right? But I didn't have that fear like everybody else. I know how to protect myself, but
that's the thing.
No altercations though. I had no altercations because one thing about it, guys in prison can kind of discern. They got good judgment. They can kind of discern what's what. It's like you can tell when a guy kind of perverted a little bit. you can just see it in a person. You know what I mean? Women can tell it too. You don't got to speak much. Women can sense it.
Something's off about him. Yeah.
Something off that joke. Something going on. Something And they never picked that up. So I never had that issue.
Did you have like an older gentleman, OG, that kind of gave you some kind of words of encouragement every time?
I did, man. I did. I had a guy. I had several guys, right? That they took a hold of me when I came in, right? By the time I got from the receiving center to the prison, I was in the laundry room. I told you, man, that's why I told you something divine, because a guy was like, I was in there and I had a Bible. The dude said, hey, I remember his name, Dog Francis, If he ever get to hear this, because the dude got a lot of like life sentence or whatever, right? If he ever gets to hear this, I remember 1992, he said, hey, you a preacher, young fella? I said, well, I guess I am, right? And I told him, I said, my desire. He said, well, look, I'm gonna introduce you to this guy. I'm gonna introduce you to this man, and he runs the church here. And so we began to, like I say, I went to that pod, and those were the guys who they were in leadership, like over in the prison, in them areas, right? And so those are guys, man, they mentored me, they kept me out of a lot of trouble, because a lot of young dudes, they draw to you. You're young too, they young. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm from that culture. Yeah. I'm from that hip hop culture. Yeah. So I understand. I'm young. You're young. You got swag and everything. You're not in there. You are who you are, regardless of where you go. Right. And so the dudes draw to you. Y'all speak, y'all talk, but a lot of older dudes be like, "Come on, man." And I go with them, man. I go with them and study, right? They help me commit. To studying the word and things of that nature, right? They say, look, man, you going somewhere in life. I said, yeah. I said, I got 107 years. I said, I believe one day I'm gonna walk out of here. He said, therefore, you got to prep. And that's what they did. So they caused me to prep. They just called me to prep. Use my time purposeful. You feel me? Mm-hmm. He said, because when the day comes, he said, you don't want to walk out of here raggedy, bro. Mm-hmm. I said, they said, you want to walk out of here right. You know what I did? So I just committed myself, just like that.
So 10 years go by, 20 years go by. Mm-hmm. Talk us, what's the mindset going into?
By that time,
pills.
Exhausted, many appeals. I still fought, even though I was trusting God to get me out of there, I still fought. I faith but I worked dead. I still put my hand to the plow. I did my due diligence. I did a lot of pro se work, legal work. I studied. I became quite proficient in it. But even though I became quite proficient, I would go to court a lot. Matter of fact, when she came back into my life or whatever, right, we were just friends, right? I was still going to court. She would see me go to court and things of that nature. And it still didn't work out. It didn't pan out. It didn't pan out to anything, right? Then finally, at that time, I wasn't going to give up, because by that time I had got deeply rooted in my environment. I became like a pillar in the environment. You catch what I'm saying? Let's say, for instance, you got to realize now, you got guys, I became what they were to me. They were mentors to me. I was a mentee. I became that to other guys. So, because I've been there 20-something years, so you kind of know your way in the environment. A guy coming off the street, well, I say, after 20 years, you're like, I can see where his mind frame at. Let me talk to youngin. Hey, come here, man. Let me holler at you. And that's what you do. Let's go work out, man. Let's go do this. What you plan on doing with yourself, man? You want to read this real estate book. Read this book on economics. Things of that nature, right? Mm-hmm. You become, the mentee becomes the mentor. Mm-hmm. You catch me? Yeah. And so with me, what I did was, at that time, I still fought profusely, because I wanted to get out. I want to enjoy my family. I want to get on with my life, because I honestly believed I was going to come out here and I was going to go out and pastor, because that was my desire. By that time, I had taught so many classes in there. I knew I wanted to pastor. I knew I wanted to do that. And so, I guess, by 20 years, that's when the Innocence Project came in my life. The Innocence Project at UVA, they came into my life. And that's why. Did they
find you, or you found them?
I worked for a gentleman at Southampton, and what he did, he called them. Okay. He called them, but what really hit the nail on the head was when my older sister, one day, she had never been to Charlottesville, Virginia. Mm-hmm. She drove all the way to Charlottesville, Virginia with my niece, and she went in there and she almost like forced the case on them, right? She said, look, my brother is locked up wrongfully. Somebody need to do something about this. She wouldn't budge. And they started really looking into my case and everything.
Shout out to your sister, man.
Yeah, man. Sister Marvella, man, my big sister. Yeah. And, like in 2009, my dad died. So I thought that during that time, my father was waiting for me to come home and everything. I thought, he'll be home when I got there. So 09, let me see, a guy named Dennis Barrett. I didn't realize that the Innocence Project started looking at my case. UV Innocent Project, you know, shout out to them. They started digging in my case. And so that day I thought I was going there to talk about my father's inheritance or something, right? And so it was a young white guy there named Dennis Barrett or whatever, right? So when I went in the room, he was in the room. I'm like, who are you? He said, I'm from the Innocence Project. He said, I talked to Michael last night. I said, what Michael are you talking about?
Your friend Michael.
My friend Michael.
Oh man.
He said, Michael Norfleet. I said,
I
come
know
on,
that shit
man.
blew up. I know it.
I said, man, come on, cause my dad had just died. So
Yeah.
that right there, like, hold on now. I said, Michael Norfleet. He said, man, your story checks out. Michael said, Michael said, you didn't do that. You didn't know them people. He said, yeah, and he said, Michael told me a whole lot of things. And he said, I realized you haven't spoken to Michael in over 20 years. I said, I haven't. He said, y'all got the same story.
Wow.
I said, wow. I said, man. I said, how's Michael? He said, Michael's doing well, man. He's a father, he's married. I said, what? Because I hadn't heard from Michael. And so, you know, you fast forward a little bit, Innocence Project, they took my case and they fought. And something else, I'm gonna tell you why something else was crazy. Her cousin, right, sent a letter. My wife wrote a letter to me about what her cousin said. She saw like this dream, you know. And she said in the dream, she saw that the DNA that they kept saying was destroyed in Virginia Beach. It wasn't destroyed. But check this out. They kept saying it was destroyed. She said his evidence is not destroyed. It's in a large white bag, an envelope, and he'll be out before the end of the year. I lie not to you, man. If I had that letter, I'm serious business. Her cousin D, right? She lived in Georgia. She didn't know anything about me, except for what she said, right? And look, I got that letter. I was like, man, I felt real good about that letter. I said, man, come on, right? You know, because like I couldn't trust the state. Yeah. So I had to depend on something other than the state. I had to depend on something outside of myself, divine. So I'm gonna tell you, I got that letter. About 6 months later, I came in off the yard and they said, you know, Darnell, the Innocence Project, won't you call them? When I got on that phone, I called. I said, what's going on? They said, you sitting down? I said, what's going on, Darnell? This was like 2016, 17, something like that. They said, just sit down. You sitting down? I said, nah. They said, well, one of my lawyers like to joke. She said something funny. I was like, what's going on? They said, remember, they said your evidence was destroyed? I said, yeah. She said, well, we were talking to a clerk, and the clerk said, we have some. I said, was it a large white bag? She said, how you know? Anyway, she just overlooked it. She said, well, how you know that? I said, man, praise God. She said, how do you know? She said, I'm like, well, never mind. But so anyway, right? She told me that, and they said, so now we're gonna start trying to get tests done. But here's the thing: when her cousin, I went off of now. I couldn't go off of what was going on legally. I had to go off of what I saw that letter. That letter became law for me then, because if she saw in a dream a large white evidence bag, right, and she said he'll be out for the end of the year, then I said, okay, she was right on that. Do you know? They kept testing it and testing it. They said, we can't find anything. Even the Department of Forensic Science, we can't find something. I said, man, come on, it can't be a lie.
Who was paying for this?
The Innocence Project. The Innocence Project was paying for everything. And so, man, when I got there, went to court. I had to go to court. I went through the court through, it's like a video, right? And I was looking, and I got to see that white bag myself. I kept looking, right? I said, why? I said, lady, get out of the way so I can see the judge. But it was like this thing kept coming. I'm saying, what is that? I said, man, that's that large white bag. I said, yeah, I'm about to go. So they started really testing that stuff. They couldn't find anything. Then all of a sudden, my lawyer said, Darnell, we got one more shot. I said, what? I said, it has to be there. They said, you sure you want us to test it? They took your DNA evidence, your stuff, and put it in the victim's clothes. They put them all together. That's a dangerous thing to do. You know what I'm saying? So what they did was, I said, go ahead and test it. I said, I ain't do nothing. Go ahead and test it. They said, we know this, but you don't want any mishaps. And the man said, guess what? I've only done this to 2 cold cases. He said, I want to try this on Darnell. I want to do a vacuum. like something like a vacuum or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they can draw the DNA up, and then they can separate things. So you know what they did? Boom, they did that. Maybe a month or two later, they called me. My lawyer called me and said, "Look, Darnell, they did the DNA test." He said, "Tell Darnell that's not here." He said, "Look," I said, "Of course." They said, "We know you know that, right?" But they said the only thing they said that when you do DNA testing, 1 in 10 African American may have the same 3 markers, but when you look at the rest of it, you say it's not Darnell. You understand what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
The Commonwealth wanted to look at all 3 markers. They said 1 in 10 African American men, 10 in 100 African American men, because of whatever region of Africa we come from, right?
Mm.
But the rest of the profile shows you.
Didn't matter.
That was the second DNA test that was done that excluded me, right? The second one. And so I'm like, man. And so after that, they just started fighting, and finally, they like, well, look, the one lady there, she told me, Adrian Bennett, I got to shout her out, right? Because she was the Department of Parole chairperson. She said, "Darnell, I believe in you. I know you're innocent." You know, she said, "We're gonna get Darnell. We can give him parole to get him out of there." Because the courts were playing hard. Because you got to keep in mind, locked man up 27 years. Then finally, my lawyers presented to the victim, found her in Atlanta, and she started fighting for me.
May Cox.
Yep, May Cox. She started fighting for me. Yep, she was the one who was fighting.
We're gonna get in that. Let's get into Miss Phillips right quick. When did you meet Miss Phillips?
I met Darnell actually when he was on bond.
Mm.
I met him through a mutual friend of ours, my friend Phyllis.
Okay.
He wanted to meet a nice church girl. That was and so, so he was on bond, and we became friends.
How did
And,
you feel about the case early on?
He told me pretty much up front.
Yeah.
He told me what was going on, and I just met him, but I just knew he was innocent. He was telling me the truth.
Mm.
And so when he went to court, I was actually expecting him to be dismissed.
Right.
So then he called me. He let me know I was convicted. They convicted me and said I was guilty. And I was like, okay, all right. So I just knew that at some point that the truth would come out and prove his innocence.
As he's in jail, he's going through 5, 10 years. How does the relationship continue to build? You just stay in contact, or what's going on?
Yes. Well, first we were friends and just pretty much got to know each other, writing and keeping in contact. And then I disappeared because I felt like he was wanting to go the relationship route, and I was in college and young, and not thinking about there was a big commitment to make right then.
Right.
So I vanished for a little while, but I still thought about him over some time. So it was probably about maybe like 99. I found a letter or something, and I got in contact with his mom. I was just checking. I said I wanted to check and see if he was home yet. I wasn't sure yet, so I just knew he was coming out, and he wasn't home yet. I talked to his mom, and she gave me his information, and I wrote him. So that's how we came back into contact. And then I eventually went and visited him. He was in Nottoway then, and that was, I don't know what year that was then.
99, 2000.
Yeah,
Mr. Phillips,
2000.
I know that.
Yeah, we met in 90. Yeah, 90. So anyway, I came back in like 2000. And so one of the times I went to see him in 2001, he asked me to marry him. And I said yes. So that was June 16, 2001. And so then we were in a relationship, and I had a friend of mine, a mutual friend of his, that was going up to Nottoway, and I started riding with her to go and visit him. Mm-hmm. And so I think, let me see, around that time frame was when in 2000, I think he had his first DNA test then. Mm-hmm. And that one was done by the military. And that test was done, and it excluded him. Because that's what they used to convict him the first, on the case.
And this was in 01?
Yes.
So you got, it was DNA evidence that excluded you in 2001.
Yep.
What's the disconnect from 01?
Go ahead with the question, brother.
And so just the disconnect, in 2001, you had DNA evidence that exonerated you from that, from this case and from this issue. But I'm trying to just figure out the disconnect. In 2001, and you wasn't released until what, 2018?
2018. In 2001, my family got there were only two places on the planet that could do this type of DNA testing. That was the military, because like when there's a helicopter wreck or whatever, they had more up-to-date technology, and it was Birmingham, England. So finally, my family was able to get the Department of Defense. However, I don't know, but they got them to do the testing. And when they did the testing, they said, told my lawyer, let him know that it's not his, it exclude him. Of course, during that time, I started amping up everything, working out, getting ready to go. But there was something in place called the 21-day rule. The 21-day rule is like after you find out DNA or whatever, right? Any other type of exculpatory evidence, you have to turn it in. That lawyer, I waited for my mother. My mom said, he's a lawyer, he knows what he's doing, Darnell. I said, Mom, he needs to get this in before 21 days. I had already been reading legal work. Lo and behold, it was like day 30. I'm like, Mom, is everything in court? She said, well, he said he got you. He didn't understand the significance of it. So what took place was, I called him up. I said, Mr. Higgins, have you filed? And he said, no, because I think we need more. I said, man, it's DNA evidence. At the time, remember, DNA wasn't that.
In 2001.
It was strong. It was strong,
But it
but it wasn't like, it doesn't have like their weight like it does now.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, man, this don't make any sense, man.
I felt like back then, eyewitness testimony carried more weight than DNA testimony.
No, he was just like, well, down there, they confess. I said, man, ain't no signature on no confession. I said, I got so many alibi witnesses. I got people who saw me out, people who were with me, people who were around me. I said, what's the issue? He just didn't put it in. You know what I'm saying? He didn't put it in because, like, for whatever reason, he like, well, darn it. Later on, he told me this. Because later on, I fought and got in court a few years after. About 4 or 5 years after. I kept going back and forth to court and stuff. Because that judge was trying to help me out at first. He really was. I just wouldn't plead. I wouldn't plead guilty. He said, if you plead, he said, look, we'll send you where some brief time or no time at all. I said, I'm not going to plead guilty for something I didn't do. That's a decision I made. I said, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? I could have pled guilty and got out of it. What's for real?
So the judge even looking at this case is like, Darnell, I'm trying to help you out here.
Yeah.
I know you ain't do it, but they want you to.
Yeah, because my mom was right there. She heard the lawyer. He said what I just thought he said. He said, because they're gonna try. He said, we're trying to make it so he'll have light at the time, at the end of the tunnel or whatever, right? And I told my lawyer, I said, man, I'm not pleading guilty for something I didn't do.
What was the timing that it was going to offer you?
He didn't say, but it wasn't going to be a lot of time. It was going to be like a program or something. That's what they were talking about. I was like, nah, I'm not doing that.
Did you trust that?
I was going to do it because my conviction was, if you didn't do something, you didn't do it. And you fight. That's my mind. Why would you plead guilty for something you didn't do? But I realized why people do it. As I matured in life, I realized that people actually say they did something they didn't do, or take pleas that they normally would have under normal circumstances, because they're afraid of the repercussions, staying longer in prison. Some of them, if their case is more serious, the death penalty. You know what I mean? They don't want to die. So they'll go ahead on and say, you know what? Take something like an alpha plea, which says that I really didn't do the crime, but I'm going to admit, you know what I mean? I'm just going to admit. And so, you had that little stigma on you. I wasn't going to do that.
So, Ms. Phillips, take us during the time of 01 to 2018, your mindset, your strength. What kind of kept you going and pushing to hold down Mr. Phillips while he's going through this time?
Okay. From 2001, I had the support of a good friend that I was riding up there, and her boyfriend was in prison at the same time as well.
So y'all could kind of relate and kind of
right, yeah. I had someone that could kind of like relate to, and we prayed. We went to the same church together, and so she kind of like was a big help. And then also I had like friends that were supportive, but a lot of times it's pretty much like a lot of prayer, reading. I've been to church a lot. Just us, I guess, our bond together. his family was, supportive. I would go see his mom and family members. My cousin Van, she was a big part, big support, prayer warrior for us. Supported us over this time frame. And I love music, so music always spoke to me. So a lot of songs, we both love music. So
what was the hits? What was the hits back in the day?
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. There was a lot of songs. We loved Hezekiah Walker. Fred Hammond.
Okay.
One of the songs that I remember that he was. I'm trying to remember if he was in prison then, or if he was. I think he was in prison or jail then. A song that I sung to him was "That's When You Bless Me," and that song just spoke about how this person found God and how that's when they were blessed, when they realized, having a relationship with the Lord. So that song is a song that spoke to me, and I sung that to him one time. We were friends then, but I didn't know that we would be where we are now today during that time frame. So
That's a great friend.
yeah, so
Love that.
yeah, definitely.
What was your interaction? When was your first interaction with the victim? Were you able to have a conversation with them, letters? When I've seen some interviews before, and she said she realized that she sent an innocent man to prison. Were you able to have conversations with her beforehand?
Nope. Not at all. At first, she wanted to be there to meet me when I walked out of the prison. But what it is, by me, they gave me the parole. Now, of course, now I'm not on a parole, nothing like that. But she wanted to meet me because she wanted to be, apologize and everything, But the thing is, they wouldn't allow us to meet. At first, she was going to be able to. And one of the people from Richmond came and told me, I don't want to mention their name or whatever, right? But they said, Darnell, they're not going to allow it. I said, why? They said, don't look good. I said, look good on who? She said, I hate your, she told me like this. We kind of became friends, stuff like that, because by that time I was walking out. You know what I mean? Because I had already been given papers and everything. She said, I hate your case, Darnell. I said, what? I said, it's not my case. She said, I just hate it because all these little things tied up into it. And she's like, they're not going to do it. I said, yeah, but they want me to write a letter. And the letter I was supposed to tell the victim, look, I forgive you. I did that myself. They said, write a letter to let them know you're not mad. Because if you lock a person up 27 years for something you didn't do, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, but I said this. I said, but the thing is, I let her know that, look, and I feel this wholeheartedly. And I said, we both were victims. You were lied to, I was lied on. You lied to, and it caused you to say things, and it's not your fault. You know what I mean? It's not your fault. And so I had forgiven because I never blamed the victim. I knew the victim was juvenile. How do they know? I never blamed them at all. I didn't have that in my mind. Never came in my heart and mind. And so I wrote a letter letting her know that, look, so she won't feel bad. Because it's the truth. I said my life wasn't a waste behind bars. I made sure I studied. I made sure I educated myself. I made sure I took trades. I made sure I did everything that I couldn't do out there. I did it in a limited parameter there. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to do them things on the outside. You know what I mean? But I did it while I was incarcerated. You know what I'm saying? I did it in an isolated time, in an isolated framework.
I find it interesting, just doing my research on May Cox and your life and her life. It seems like both of y'all went through something really traumatic. Of course you did. But it seems like on her end, she suffered as well. Yeah. She went through her own trials and tribulations. I don't know if it was guilt or just kind of just her life circumstances. But it's just ironic that, kind of nobody came away scot-free in this situation. It was an injustice on the police department, 100%. But just speaking on that, it seems like, have you spoken with her recently or no type of contact?
Not at all. No, one day, one day, like I said, I know God opened that door for one day, right? Yeah. Because it gives him, I'm like this, right? I feel whole. When I say that is, I know I need to be made whole. I need to be compensated. I need for my stuff to be clear. And I'm not running around here with hatred out here. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to go on with my life.
You definitely got a aura about you.
Most people be angry. They'd be pissed. Doing 28 years. But you have that uplifting.
He got that aura, that, a different type of glow about you. I think that's pretty rare. People who's walking around free every day, struggling about something, they don't have that type of aura. You have that type of glow you have.
So with that, I feel like this. She needs healing, and they need to make me whole. She really needs healing because, like I said, right, I realized that she was the victim. She was the true victim. She was a true victim here. I was I'm not gonna put myself secondary, you know what I mean? Because I did a lot of time on that, and I suffered immensely. Yeah. I suffered immensely, but at the same time, I had a lot of peace that garrisoned me. You understand what I'm saying to you? In other words, my mind fell into purpose. So I didn't read years like everybody else read it. Like guys would talk out sometimes playing, okay, I'm gonna say 2-3 years down the line, I said, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do, that's what I did. Because I realized that one day is gonna come, I don't know when. I said, but I got to stay ready. And so I don't think she had that. I think her life, because things were coming at her, and she didn't probably have that support like that. I had support of, like I say, inmates. I had support of family, staff. You know what I mean? Not all family. You know what I mean? Because, like I say, the longer you be locked up, people get older. Y'all just separate. It's a part of life. Right. You know what I'm saying? And so I had my most immediate. I had my most immediate. The people I thought would be there. I mean, now I'm cool with them now. I'm close with them now, right? Yeah. I don't blame them. They got married. You had family. You ain't got no time to be on the prison phone all day long. I understand that, right? But she didn't have that. She didn't have that support. And so my thing was to meet her because I wanted to see healing on that side. I wanted to see healing on that side, not because I did something or inflicted something. It's because that person needed it. I realized, man, that forgiveness is so important, because if you stand on forgiveness, you're in a prison. You imprison yourself in your mind. You feel me? You really in prison. And me personally, I didn't walk like that. When I went to bed, I didn't have no restless nights. Only when my father died, that hurt. That was my dog. My dad, that was my dude for real. You know what I mean? He was funny. I love the dude. You know what I'm saying? He taught me a whole lot. But outside of that, I slept well every night. I didn't. Oh my God! I didn't have a conscience. I didn't have a conscience of doing something. Some people reflect. I gotta sit and reflect, because that's what was the purpose of penitentiary. You sit, reflect. I ain't had that. So since I didn't have that, I reflected on my future. I reflect, because your mind has to have an assignment. So I reflected on my future. Okay, where am I going to go? When I walk out of here, what am I going to do? And that was what I had on my mind from the very time I walked in there to the very day I walked out of there. That was on my mind.
If you could sit down with the prosecutor or the investigator that falsely accused you and then push the agenda to say that was you, what would you tell them right now?
That's a good question, brother.
I would just tell them, of course, they the ones who framed it to get me in there, so they know I'm not the person. Regardless of what they say, you have to know, because in order to perpetuate a lie, you have to continuously grab pieces from places. And while you're doing it, you know something wrong, because sometimes things are just right in your face. You know what I mean? And I would tell them, you didn't do your due diligence. You robbed me of my life. You robbed me of my life, but for real, I forgive you for real. I mean that for real. I'm telling you, God did a work in me while I was there. I have no amount of bitterness. I have no amount of unforgiveness towards them. I will hug them. I tell you, when I wrote that, I meant that with the victim. I meant that with the detective, all of them, the case and everything like that. I'm like this. It just elevated my relationship with God while I was there. It elevated my mind and spirit to a degree that I can kind of feel compassion for people, because I realize that, to err is to be human. I know people do things maliciously, but it's up to me. It's up to me as an individual to make the choice to say, you know what, I'm gonna allow this to imprison me in my mind and soul. They had my body. I said, you're not gonna get my mind. You're gonna get my spirit. You're not gonna get that. You know what I'm saying? And so when I think about that, I'm good. I'm good, because I know I ain't do a thing. God knows I didn't do a thing. Victim knows I didn't do a thing. And so even though they didn't do right, nevertheless, they know the truth. I can feel everything I say, it can be backed up with facts. It can be backed up legally. And they could get before God. We all would stand before God right now. And it was a matter of our eternal future on the line. I can say right there, and I stand. I go into it. That's the good thing about it. So I know now when I walk around free, I don't have to put on an air with people. I don't have to make no excuse because why? I know I ain't doing anything. They know I ain't doing anything. And that's how I feel. I feel at peace. I feel at peace every day. I can look myself in the mirror. You know, I can go and purport myself in life. You know what I mean? Now, only thing I can say is because I have come through that experience, 27 years out there, 19 years out here in the free world, I still adapt. But it's not like I'm institutionalized. I'm not institutionalized.
That's what I was.
You know what I'm saying?
What was the hardest thing to adjust to when you first got out?
The mentality. The mentality, because keep in mind, I left in 91. So the mentality is real different. You know what I mean? And so the entitlement of people, you know, feeling entitled, the carelessness of people not loving and respecting each other like they used to. I'm not saying it was all good and dandy then, but it was more respect. It was more integrity.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
And it seems like things the thread of that has been kind of torn out of society. And so just the camaraderie of people, right? It don't seem like it's not a lot of intimate relationships gained and developed. You know, it just, to me, sometimes it seems strange. And, you know, I was around thousands of personalities a day. So I can kind of pick up with people or whatever. And so what bothered me was people not seeing the value of time. A lot of people waste time. I've gotten on her a bit. As my wife, but I gotten on her about things. A lot of other people, family, because I didn't have a chance like they did. I had time now, don't get me wrong, but I didn't have the chances, the opportunities like they did to pursue. They've been out here, and I hear people over the years, I'm like, man, you've been out here all this time, you could have pursued it. Why'd you allow an emotion to keep you from pursuing your dreams? Why'd you allow a person's opinions keep you from pursuing your dreams? You know, that's what I was dealing with when I came out. Because while I was there, I still would teach. I told you, I still would teach guys. I still would disciple. I still would mentor. I still do with guys behind bars and stuff like that, right? And those when they get out. It bothered me because it seemed like people wasted time. And so I stayed on go. I said, on prison, you stay on go. You like, well, let me get it. You know, you get out, let me get at it. While I was there, it's like, let me get at it. Because, you know, like she'll tell you like this, right? I was trying to, you know, you come out, I couldn't work. People wanted to because of high profile or high you, but they're like, dog, that stigma on you. God, they want to give me a job because they knew I was innocent. But, you know, you can have a stigma on your business. You can get a lawsuit. But I understand that. But I didn't care about that. You know why? Because while I was there, I had been studying my business. I had been locking in on ministry, what I'm gonna do. I came out with bags of lessons and like hundreds of sermons and everything I would do when I would get out. Only thing I needed to do was get to it. So I was ready to get on grind. You know, first day I got out when they came up to me on the camera, I said, only thing I want to do, I want to walk in my destiny. That's what I want to do. They're on the news. I ain't caring about all that other stuff. I wanted to get to it.
Dante, why do you think that Darnell has more passion? He has more drive than people have his age, with more opportunities, with more things given to them. Why does he have more drive and more passion to push for his dreams than the average person?
Like you said, time.
Yeah.
You know, we don't value time. I don't say we in this room.
Right.
The world now, society now, doesn't value time for what it is.
No, I really don't.
You had your time robbed from you, but you still took the time. Although the time on the outside was robbed from you, but you was inside still going to it and getting it done. And I think a lot of kids now, we just fail to realize what's in front of us.
Yeah.
And we take life for granted. You know, every day we just thinking that we're gonna wake up tomorrow. We think that we're gonna be able to eat. We think we're gonna be able to, you know, sleep in our bed. You know, it's just so many things we take for granted, man. And I know, like, I got some brothers that, you know, in the military, and I always say this all the time, whenever I was in a certain situation, I just appreciate the simple things that I had in front of me, like light, a table, you know, your phone, you know, and these kids got it every day. Don't think it can be taken away.
Right.
But you being in the inside, you still went ahead and put your mind to the task and say, nothing's gonna stop me. I see you're a physical guy, so I'm saying you must have still been hitting them weights.
He doing his push-ups.
Yeah, he ain't, you know, getting your body right, but you also took the time for God first. You know, picking up the Bible, reading every day, educating yourself. I mean, that's something that a lot of people just don't want to do until it's taken away from them, and then start to realize, man, I really had it good.
Yeah.
Let's keep it up to date. Mr. Phillips, as of today, are you still fighting to get your record clean?
I certainly am. I had went to, I think you might have seen it on, it was in the papers and stuff like that.
Oh,
right?
yeah, I'm tapped in, Mr. Phillips.
Oh yeah. So I went up and I talked to the delegates to get it done. Lieutenant Governor, I had talked to him. All these senators, they were promising. They had actually apologized. Remember that video? They had actually apologized. It was on PBS. You know what I'm saying? Wow. They apologized. But then when it came time, I went up there and fought with the Innocence Project. You know, went up there and fought. Then I'm waiting. The governor signed it. I'm saying, to rid of your innocence. They passed the law. Got my picture in there. I'm like, oh, okay, oh shucks. But then all of a sudden, pandemic. So I'm waiting. I'm still waiting around, waiting for them to go to court, doing all these things. Nothing taking place. And so I'm like, okay, I'm being patient. You know, I'm still doing my business. I'm still doing this, that. I'm trying to get these speaking engagements. Just trying to do everything I can, right? Keep myself busy, right? Because I learned sometimes if you take your mind off of things, right, then you know things will just come faster. You won't be so agitated, right? Yeah. So then I said, hold on, I need to come back and take the reins again. So I went back up to Richmond right before the governor went out of office that Friday. Went up there at the request of my friend, right? Because he did 20 years, man. That's something he do. 20 years. Not my buddy, not my friend. Okay. Yes, sir. And the Innocence Project got him out, right? So we went up there and stuff, and we spoke. I spoke to some senators that I had talked to prior to the pandemic. They all remember me and everything. You know, they remember, hey, what's up, Darnell? What's going on? So I had developed a rapport with them. I said, you know, they didn't do that, man. I didn't get my pardon. I didn't get my absolute pardon, man. They said, come on, dog. I said, no. So they're like, well, look, we're going to help. We're going to do what we can do, right? And so it was the last day. One of the delegates had called me and said, you know, when I came back to Virginia from Richmond, a couple hours later on, I said, we talked to she texted the governor or whatever. And nothing came of it. I waited around all day Saturday. Good thing I had a distraction because my family, they held an early birthday party. Okay. You know, I didn't know they were going to do that, right? Right. So they did that. You know, they had a drive-by thing. So, you know, but I was still waiting that whole day to hear. I said, man, get my absolute pardon. So now I have the people right now, they're fighting now. Some heavyweights, they're hitting now. Some congressmen, they're hitting at it now to get it done and rectified, right?
Is there anything we can do, the people can do to help you with this process?
Unless you know somebody. but for real, they're pretty much on it. The only thing they can do is they can talk to they can send letters to the governor. They can send them to the lieutenant governor. Like I say, because some congressmen on it. The local congressmen, some other men, they on it for real.
You feel like it's just a matter of time?
It's just a matter of time, but I'm gonna still stay on it. Gotcha. You know, because I realize now. I try to get. This is what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to get myself so preoccupied with that. Because I told you, I trusted God to get me out of there.
He brought you this far.
He got me this far. So I'm figuring now, this is just the last part. You know what I mean? That all restoration will come. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at in my mind. You know, I'm like, okay, it's my mind and heart. So I'm gonna knock out all my assignments. Because I believe life is an assignment. You know, it's like we all sit here. We're an answer to a problem. You know, we're an answer to a problem. We have an assignment. So therefore, I said, let me knock out all my assignments. So speaking engagement come, I said, let me knock out my assignment. This interview come, I said, let me knock out my assignment because you never know who need to hear it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's why I push like that. You know, I push like that.
So being that you did your 27 years. Mm-hmm. Now you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. I'm not comfortable with it. Has there been any talk about restitution, any reparations? As far as, are you able to sue the city of Virginia Beach,
Mm.
you know, in order to get?
Boy, that's a good question, boy. I'm telling you.
Well, after they get things done, you know, of course, you know what I mean. I would want compensation because that would be due me. You know what I'm saying? Because for 27 years, you know, that's a lot of time.
Definitely.
It's not like I was out here on drugs. You know, before I went on bond, I got my own business. C&D Home Services. I work for a thing called TDY Music and Video. You know, and so she was trying to give me co-partnership in that. So I was trying to get my own business then when I was on bond. It wasn't like I was out here smoking crack or stuff like that, right? I was a guy who was focused.
Just go get it.
I was always ambitious. You know what I mean? I would lie on application at 15 get jobs because I wanted bread and I wanted to wear them. You know, I wanted to wear all the sneakers. You know what I mean? I wanted to wear all the. You know, I wanted that. Now, just to, you know, because you know we peers. When we contemporaries, right? Like during that time, you want to be like your fellow friends. You want to blaze trails, but you want to, okay, look, you know, I got my style, you got your style, you know. It's how it is. It's just how it is out here. People do that in corporate world, they do it in church world. It's just how it is. That's how we are. But so it's not like I was out here robbing somebody. It wasn't like that. I was going to go somewhere. I felt I was going to go somewhere with the music. Either way, I still had something I wanted to do. I just needed to know what it was. And I would have laser focused on it. Just like the time I was locked up. I just focused on it because I said, okay, I know my purpose, ministry. So I guess what I said, I'm going to do just that. And that's what I did in there. When they asked me, well, you know, if I took a program, guess what? I didn't want their stuff anyway. I didn't want their education. So I would do like correspondence courses. But if you ask me, what you going to do when you get out of there? I said, no, I'm going to the ministry. If you ask me, okay, well, what type of course you going to do? I said, the course have to deal with business/ministry. So that way it would stay in alignment with my assignment, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? I didn't study anything outside of it because I so strongly believed in my purpose. You understand what I'm saying? Sometimes it's like some people say, I take a major. They might say, well, you know, I want to go to medical school, but really in their heart and mind, they want to be, I don't know, a TV anchor or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You know, unless it's going to merge, then I wouldn't do it. So that's what I would do. I would like, I don't want to take that. I'm not going to take it. Because, you know, when you 19 years old and you say, well, you know what? I'll make a decision. After that, I'm dead to the opinions of people. You know, I tell a guy, I said, look, man, I said, when you hear 107 years or something like that come across a desk and a person saying something about your life, you kind of like, look, if that hit me, then, and I can go through this time and God gave me strength that time, I got every confidence he gonna make sure everything all right. So I make sure, look, I'm gonna stick with that purpose. If it got me out of behind these bars, them folks won't try to let me out till 2045. I've been old as dirt, you feel me? So what I'm saying, now I got every confidence that every path I get on now, I try to rest. You know, like it's like, you know, like you recline and you rest in your mind. So you know what? I gotta take a step back. Do what I'm supposed to do, but not let it worry me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I wasn't worried all them years. I wasn't worried. Did I want to leave? Of course. Who want to be in there Christmas after Christmas, birthday after birthday, eating garbage and listening to lies all day? I mean, this is just how it is. It's an environment. It's a criminal element. It's a melting pot of food.
Listening to lies.
Right? I mean, for real. You hear a lot of lies, but here's the thing. You also hear brilliance. Some of the most brilliant minds of black men, white men, Oriental. You hear some of the most brilliant things. You're like, whoa. Because all the backgrounds. Everybody in there behind bars. Some of the minds I heard in the prison, I would pit it up against some of the greatest military minds, the greatest political minds, the greatest religious minds. I would pit it up against them, the greatest legal minds.
I've heard that before, actually.
Because it is true. When I went to fight, I'm gonna tell you, the lawyers that used my case, not the Innocence Project, right? But the lawyers who would fight my case in 2010, they used those briefs that me and another inmate sat down and wrote.
Come on.
Wow. They didn't have to do jack except for I'm gonna put my name is Mrs. That's what they did. They didn't have to do anything other than that. You know what I'm saying? So me personally, when I talk to them guys, at first, that's the first thing I saw when I went in there. I said, man, that dude's smart. That cat's smart. And dude, like, what do you think? I'm just stuck it all day. So I said, but the thing is, sometimes, like I said, then you got the element of just lying all, lying and making up stuff, creating life. Because if you were smoking crack, gonna see you smoking crack, who would say, yeah, I smoke crack, but you don't hear that. Not a lot of people do that unless they kind of, they know that they got to pull themselves up, right?
I got 2 more questions. You got any more questions?
Nah, man, I'm good.
I got 2 more questions for my late night barbers. Question number 1. This is just my opinion. I know we are familiar with the book of Joseph or the story of Joseph in the Bible. Tell me how that story kind of motivated you in your time.
That was I'm gonna tell you, that was my launching point when I discovered Joseph. I didn't know about Joseph on the street. I didn't know about Job either. When I opened up the Bible, because I had just got in the Word before I got locked up, so I just became a fresh believer. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I would go to church, but I ain't think about Jesus. Because the way my mind was. You understand? You can be blind. Spiritually, you can be blind. Right. But when God opened up my eyes, I said, okay, Jesus over there, that's the one. Okay, wow. Everybody got their own opinion, but what I experienced and what sustained me, I don't know if theirs can sustain them where they at. You catch me? So I know what keep me strong every day.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? So I that's what I testify to. And I 100% I die for it, live and die for it. But I would say, man, I'm familiar with Joseph, and I believe Joseph's life it mirrored mine because he was a young man. He was favored. I was out here. I was favored at the time. You know what I'm saying? Swag, yeah. They coat of many colors. I guess that was swag one. But look, so my thing is, but Joseph also was ambition. He had dreams. Before I went to the prison, I had a dream of doing ministry. I had I parallel that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So with me, I said, okay, well, man, he went through rough times like me. He got locked up. Then he got accused again falsely. I got one charge falsely. Then all of a sudden they gave me another charge falsely, robbery. You catch me? Falsely. He helped people in the prison. I was able to help guys in the prison. He got on the leadership roles in the prison. My whole time I was there, I was getting the best jobs. I was getting the best positions. I started a Bible study class. If I go take it, I get in there. I would pretty much end up being leadership. When I left out the prison, I became the what they call it, the whole power representative. You catch me? Over the guys, over the committees and everything. So favor was all. That's after being there for like a week. You catch what I'm saying to you? So what I'm saying is, when I got out, I was shown favor. Joseph had favor. You know what I mean? Now, so the thing is, I'm like this. I know that the rest of my story now, it's going to be just as powerful as that. You know what I mean? All I got to do is hold on. You know what I mean? And I got to wait my season out, right? Yeah, no doubt about it, man.
Last question.
Yes, sir.
I want you, this has been a huge motivator for the late night barbers, they're hearing this story. Tell the people what you're doing now. Tell them about your businesses. Tell them about the engagements that you have going on. You're not just sitting on your butt. You actually get into it.
Yeah, outside of doing podcasts and things of that nature, I've been like I said, I go to this business meeting every Wednesday, right? And so I was there, and since pandemic, I've been going places to speak. So I spoke there, and so a lot of pastors were there. They're like, "Oh man, why don't you come to my church, man?" So I still got these engagements lined up out here in Virginia Beach and things of that nature. But I also I started a mobile detailing business, right, which is called Redemption Auto Detailing LLC.
Let me get that.
And my phrase is everything deserves a second shine, right? But I also, here's the thing, a clothing line with me and my partner. He's locked up. He's locked up behind the prison bars or whatever, right? He about to come out though. But we started a clothing line for females called Black Chick Apparel. Right? He had a dream of that. So he said, well, look, man, I want you to, since you're out there, I want you to, be the, do the spearhead that thing, right? Yeah. And then when I went to the Hamptons in New York in July, I had somebody told me, man, I can kind of see you in the trucking business. This man of God told me, he said, I see you in the trucking business with trucks all over the road. I had no interest in that. I don't know.
Random man told you this.
Yeah, I was in a restaurant and the dude was on a FaceTime. He said, man, He said, man, he said, I'm telling you. He said, man, look, he said, God will restore some things to you, man. He said, look, bro, I'm telling you. He said, you're going to be a multi-millionaire. But that's not the only person who told me that. Bishop Courtroom and Beth told me that. He said, every time I see you, I see millions. And it had to do with Case.
God, please have somebody tell me.
No, I'm not telling you. Now, check this out. I'm going to tell you what tripped me out. So he said, look, man, he said, I'm telling you, I see you on the road. I see trucks all over the road. So I said, well, shoot, this is true. God told you, you know, when a person say God told me something, I tested. So when I was in the Hamptons, I was up there with my friend, Jason Flom, right, of Wrongful Conviction, right, you know. Dude found Katy Perry producer. He said, look, he said, Darnell, what you know, we were taking a professional photo shoot, right? So we were walking down the beach in the Hamptons and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, I want to get into that logistics business, man. He said, what you think that costs, man? I said, man, about 50K, you know, whatever. He said, okay. And so he was a very active guy. He in his 60s, but so he went out on his paddleboat with his dog, Freddie.
Yeah.
So they going across, out there in the middle. And all of a sudden I get a call, right? I'm like, what the world? I said, Jason, what in the world? He said, I got an idea, man. He said, call Doug, right? Call Doug DeLuca. And so I called Doug up. Doug said, yeah, I'm with you 100% on this business. But, so, after that, I didn't bother. I just went to get my facts together. 2 weeks later, I was helping my buddy move into his new house, right? And so he said, Darnell, I got something for you. I said, what's going on? He said, remember you said you want to get into the logistics business. Now, remember, I said, if God speak, if I take an action, I believe this thing by faith, something will happen. Yeah. You know what this dude said? He said, look, Darnell, I met a dude, man. He may always use the phrase, he richer than God, the nonsense. I said, what are you talking about, man? He said, well, he said he'll invest up to $50,000 in you if, he said, that's what you want to do. He said he ain't so much worried about getting paid back. If it work, but he wants to more so you to pay it forward, right? Mm. But for tax sake, you had to put a 1%, whatever like that. And you know what? 2 weeks later, we had about a week after that, we had a Zoom. So he said, tell me about your plan, Darnell. I said, yeah, I want to get into the trucking man. He said, you're in the detail. Why don't you want money for detail? I said, no, I didn't tell him because of what that man said about the trucking. Mm. He said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to split it up. I'm going to give you 40K. I'm going to give this man 40K. And I'm going to give this guy 20K. I said, cool. He said, give your banking information. So in the email, I'm doing it. It didn't take no more than several days. He said, give it a couple of days to clear. So, I was going to the bank, I think. This had to be like in October, right? Yeah, about October. But anyway, so I said, I'm going to the bank. I got a little money in there. So I'm like, I'm going to pull out, I don't know what they, I might want to go pull out $1,000, do something, whatever, right? It was something I had to do. So I went and I pulled it out and stuff. A lot of times you go to the bank, you got a receipt, somebody else's receipt come out. So I pulled it out and I said, okay. I said, oh, and I said, God almighty, they doing all right. I'm thinking somebody else, right? Yeah. And then I said, let me go ahead and put it in again. You check out your balances or whatever, right? So that joint came out again. And I looked over there at the account and I said, oh, shucks. I said, he won't play. And so look, so I told my buddy, I said, yo, man, I said, did you check the bank? Because another guy, it was only 3 of us, right? Yeah. Out of all the other guys they chose, it was just 3 of us. Wow. He said, no, I don't got mine yet, bro. He said, let me see. He said, let me see that. I didn't take a picture of it, but I said, nah, bro. I said, it's up in here. I said, it's up in here, man. And so I went looking for a truck. And so, I went looking for a truck and everything, right? When I went looking for a truck, them trucks cost that money. I said, man, I'm supposed to get 50K. I said, I know, but check this out. I said, God with me. And if he want me to do it, he going to make a way. You know what? I went and got a $40,000 truck. You see the truck on Instagram? $40,000 truck. I went to Northern Virginia. This truck was out there on the rider's lot. An African dude, his wife pestered him, you need to go ahead and sell it and whatever, right? He had the truck, went out there. He did something with the lift gate and the doggone hydraulic. I guess the fuel came out. So he said, I dropped it $5,000. Dropped $5,000 in the price. I said, that makes $21,000 because he wanted to. I said, okay, let me see what's going on, right? Got that fixed for $600. And so I came away with a $40,000 truck for $21,000. Come on. Then, you got to pay for your authority to get your MC. I got my MC and DOT authority. I got that in a matter of a couple of days. Then paid for the insurance a whole year. I tell you about that, pay for the insurance a whole year, and you're supposed to have like $1 million insurance. You know, of course it don't mean that, but you know, so I gave them $7,300, right? So I was able to pay that. Then I was able to get anything need to be repaired, the brakes and all them things, got that out of the way. And so then within a couple weeks, we on the road.
Congrats,
Look at
man.
that.
You know what I'm saying?
Look at that.
Yeah, you see that? You see that? That's why I say, man. Like I told people, I said, man, I told them you got to come out of the closet with God. I'm talking about you got to be out there because He'll look out for you. I mean, regardless. See, here's the thing. He'll look out for you. You trust Him, He can look out for you. I say that. That's why I would say to any young guy, don't be ashamed. Outside of all the little religious crap that go on, God is that personal, strong relationship with Him, right? He'll work for you. Everything, she'll tell you everything. I told a person, I said, man, look, God showed me this, man. Or then this person said that, guess what? It manifested. The proof is in the manifestation. It's not in, the proof is in that manifestation. Even when I went looking for, I keep my car, I can go get in it, I can go pay cash for it and just like what I want, right? But I'm gonna say I keep this 2016 Toyota Corolla. I'm gonna tell you why. Because in 2019, right, me and my wife, she's my fiance. Then we've been married about 7 or 8 months now.
Yeah, we got married on May 21st.
Okay, we were praying, right? And I was praying. I said, look, man, my mom, I can't home. She had dementia or whatever. So my dad had already died and stuff. So sometimes people with finances, and I'm coming out of prison. You know what? We had prayed, and so what happened was I went to New York, did a podcast, and I told the dude, I said I wanted to get into the a business, right? Because at the time I had a choice to take a job or trust God that He wanted me to get in business for myself. Went there, did the podcast. I think I had $70 on me, $75 in the whole world. So I went, because I believe, I said I ain't had jack before I came out here anyway. You know what I mean? So it was except what I had in prison. So I went to New York. Went to New York, did the thing. He said, look, man, in the middle of he said, look, Darnell, he said, I heard you want to get into a mobile detailing. I said, yeah. He said, how much that cost? This was between, like what we doing now. You cut it off, turn. This was in between. He said, I said, man, probably about $6,000 or something like that, $6,200. He said, you got paperwork? I said, yeah, I got it. He said, you ready? I said, yeah, I got paperwork. Had the paperwork, my business plans, boom. He said, well, I heard, man, you also looking for a car. I said, man, I don't need nothing but like a piece of car or something. Get me here, there. I said, man, it might be about $1,200. He said, okay, I'm going to send you about $8,000, $10,000. You think that'll work? So what he did was, ended up, he said, Darnell don't believe me. He said, well, you can get that money next week. I know this guy is wealthy, but he's like, he don't believe me. He said, look, the money gonna be there next week, right? So I waited, I said, okay, cool. The lady kept telling me, Darnell, you're good to go, man. You don't gotta look back no more. I'm like, all right, I hear you. So all of a sudden, that following week, I went to the mailbox, boom. I said, oh, shucks, let's take a picture of this. They do this, took a picture of it. Then a couple of days after, the dude said, look, man, I'm going to send them money, but let me know where you want to get your car. And so what I did was I went to, my lawyer kept trying to get me to get this BMW, right? It was 2011. And I'm like, well, guys, I don't mess with that, whatever, don't mess with that. And I kept looking at this 07 Infinity, right? But then I went to, they told me that people at Toyota Malloy Toyota in Winchester, they want to give you, it's a 2016, but they said, but it's certified and everything, and everything gonna be paid, like they're gonna pay the insurance off for like 6 months. The people, so I'm like, okay, I said certified. They said, yeah, bumper to bumper certified, 39,000 miles, 2016, immaculate. I said, well, shoot. I said, yeah, let's go for that. And I went there, and so that's my faith car. I went there, had a big ribbon on it. It was a testimony as to I was believing for something lesser. You feel me? You know what I mean? And so I was like, okay, that's cool. So I had the opportunity to get something else. I was trying to get out of it like about a month ago. You know what I mean? But the thing is, I said, you know what? I said, I'm keeping this. I said, you know why? I said, because it's debt free. It symbolized me debt free. 2016, debt free. You know what I mean? I said, I ain't swinging, So me personally, everything with me, man, is a testimony. Every day is a testimony as to the miracle working power of God in my life. And the thing is, he's not a respectable person. He'll do it so I say for a young man, young woman, I say trust God for real. Trust God through Jesus Christ for real. That's real. That's 100. You know, vibe with that. That's real.
Man, late night vibes. We just brought you a classic.
Mhm.
We got the great brother Darnell Phillips. We have his lovely wife, Miss Phillips, in the building. We got Sabian the GOAT. Give a shout out to our sponsors, More Life Wellness. Mike, what's up, baby?
Big Mike.
Man, another episode. Sabian the GOAT, what you got?
We gotta bring it back. We gotta bring you back. I want to know more about your life. As future go on, what's going on, your future endeavors. Thank you, Miss Phillips, also for coming. Thank you for our cameraman back there in the background. He don't do nothing else, but yeah. Thank you so much for this interview.
My pleasure. My
Off
pleasure.
topic, we'll talk more off the line and everything.
Yes, sir.
But it's been a real good treat, man. Thank you, Chris, for this also.
Late night vibes. We out, baby.